members of our Congress, you will always have within our government those that are above the law. Hey, it's me, and I want to talk about the yellowjackets. It's over in France, and it's kind of dissipating because Macaroni gave in. But what you have here is a misunderstanding. You know, people that support Trump are suddenly praising these yellowjackets, but it's 95% socialists. As you know, they always burn stuff on the street. And the leaders of the yellowjackets are all members of the far left-wing party, the equivalent of Bernie Sanders type socialists, but worse. Because in Europe, these socialists have a long history in France, and they don't like it that they're not in power. Now, Macron is not exactly a socialist, but he's a globalist. And all these socialists on the street burning stuff, they were supporting climate change for decades now. And when you do the carbon taxing, of course people get taxed. And so reality hits, and then these dumb socialists go on the street to protest something that they've been supporting for years. So that goes to show that these liberals are always talking about taxing this, taxing that, climate change. When it comes down to it, the reality is, even socialists don't want it. So they just talk about it, and when reality hits, they get angry. Now, of course, when you have protests on the street, you have some far right-wing people joining and people that don't like taxes in general, but it's pretty much 90% socialists. And so I don't even know why so-called Trump supporters would say, we should do this in our nation, but Trump is the president, and we don't have climate change policies, we don't have carbon taxes. In fact, we have historic tax cuts. So what's this mumbo-jumbo about needing yellowjackets here? It's a Soros-supported movement. Whenever you see like the purple revolution or the green revolution or the yellow jacket revolution, these color-coded protests are always led by Soros and left-wingers, in this case the left-wing party in France. And left-wing party in France means ultra-socialists. So you have people that support Trump supporting socialists on the street going, yeah, go. And I like it in the sense of, okay, you have climate change and you get a reality check. Even socialists on the street don't like it. And I like to see that, right? It's like people are against climate change even after supporting it for that long. And if climate change isn't able to use carbon taxes, then it doesn't have any teeth. It's just talk, right? Climate change. Because climate change is really socialism in disguise, and the carbon taxes, it's really to tax the hell out of companies and of course individuals, and to tax fuel and to go to the windmills, and it's kind of that eco-terrorism. So it's amusing to see socialists fighting against socialist policies. I mean, that's hilarious if you think about it. But what bothers me is that people over here get caught up by the barf parts, you know, they have UK websites and all of that, painting this yellowjacket socialist uprising as some kind of a Trump-type movement. It's the opposite. I mean, these are socialists. They want ultra left-wing governments in all of Europe, and especially in their country, France. And they're not against the EU or anything. They just don't want to pay taxes suddenly. Because when reality hits with socialists, even they don't like it. And the ones making policy, they don't suffer from it, because they're millionaires and billionaires. But when you attack the working class people, of course you're going to see an uprising, even from socialist working class people. And you had something similar with Obamacare here. But again, these are left-wingers, and they're protesting against policies they've been supporting for years. And that's kind of the, catch-22 for some people. You're supporting socialists and people that support climate change and the EU, while at the same time you denounce the EU and socialist policies. You can't have it both ways. So the people that want to see riots and people burning things in the streets are left-wing nuts, like the whole Democratic Party. That's what they want. That's what the media wants, to protest against Trump and, to have violence in the streets, part of the campaign to stop Trump from being reelected. And they can't have it because people only go out on the streets if it's something really serious. And even though the left-wing media is against Trump every day, do you see protests in the street? You see people burning stuff down because Trump is doing so well? No. If Trump really was such a nightmare, people would be on the streets in the millions every weekend, but you don't see it. So whenever you see people saying, we need that in our country, those are people that are liberals. And they may pretend to be conservatives or nationalists or Trump supporters. But Trump is the president. If you really want that, then you want people in the streets to attack President Trump and to overthrow the government. So a lot of these people that, conservative support for some reason, Paul Joseph Watson, a lot of InfoHorse people, a lot of libertarians, a lot of Q people, they're all just liberals. They call themselves libertarians or whatnot, but they're all liberals. And it's all about revolution and overthrow the government. And it's so far left-wing that you have liberals with gimmicks. And they call themselves libertarians. Because if you're praising yellowjackets, it's like praising Bernie Sanders people, or Black Lives Matter, or Antifa. There is no difference. They're the same types of people. They're far left-wingers. And in essence, true conservatives or nationalists, they don't go out and protest and act like a bunch of idiots. That's always left-wing. So when you see Charlottesville, that's left versus left. And when you look at France, that's left versus left. And that's why Trump is so far detached from that. That's why you don't see that type of stuff in our nation. But you did see it during the Choco years. People burning stuff, riots, Antifa all over the place. And now, no. It's like they got scared because they realized that they can't get anything by going out on the street. People are not unhappy. The economy is doing well. There's more security. We have a winning president. And even though these socialists don't like it, and the media doesn't like it, the establishment doesn't like it, the people are okay with it. They don't like Trump the person, perhaps, but who cares, right? Everything is A-okay. And so to see people praising yellowjackets, it just makes me barf. Right? What's next? You're going to praise Antifa or Black Lives Matter or Code Pink? They're the same types of people, right? And this is yellowjackets instead of Code Pink, but there is no real difference. And I see the same when it comes to when people talk about the UK. They don't understand that Theresa May is a conservative, the Conservative Party. Tony Blair is the left-wing party. He's like Joe Biden or someone like that. But they prefer to support a left-winger instead of a conservative. And Tony Blair is like a full-on globalist and pro-EU. And Theresa May is working for Brexit. So you could say, she's not doing a good job. But that's what the left wing wants. And I notice, again, many of these so-called Trump-supporting websites, they're supporting the left-wing politicians in the UK. Is it that Barfbart is pretending to be a little bit more conservative in our nation, and Barfbart UK is left-wing. I haven't visited Barfbart UK, but I can guess so, because I did notice some headlines praising left-wingers all the time and attacking Theresa May. And what is that, right? You have Brexit and Theresa May and conservatives being attacked by Barfbart. And then I see a lot of people calling for regulation of YouTube and regulation of Google, which it's net neutrality. I mean, you cannot talk about regulation without being like Choco. I mean, that's what Choco was doing, and, you know, begging for net neutrality, and that's what China has, net neutrality. It sounds good, I know neutrality, right? I support neutrality, but it's just another word. It's like the Affordable Care Act, which is really Choco Care, which is unconstitutional and not affordable. But they're good with the names, right? Net neutrality sounds great. But calling for the regulation of private companies, whether it's, you know, a car company or YouTube or Google, I mean, that is socialism. That's not what conservatism is, and that's not what Trump stands for either. And so you don't see Trump there, you know, supporting the yellowjackets. He's just saying, look, this is what you get when you have climate change policies. Carbon taxes, taxes on fuel, and it really hits anyone. So socialism, whether you call it Marxism or you call it climate change, whatever is the form, it's always about taxing the hell out of people, and it hits even people that had been supporting socialists. You know, Choco was a failure, but he was always a socialist, and you can see that socialism never works. And then you have an economy that doesn't take off. Why? Because it's stifled to death with all the regulations and taxes. I mean, it's insane. Yet, socialists always keep supporting it. Even now, they're still talking about the same thing. Nancy Pelosi, Chucky, and also the Alexandria and Beto and Camel to Harris, all of them. They're all the same, talking the same language. And then the American people that vote for these clowns, like in the midterms in those districts, they're going to get taxed. There's going to be poop on the streets, and then they're complaining. But they've been supporting it. They've been voting for it. So in essence, I'm saying that, you know, maybe it's a good thing that Trump support has a lot of socialists, maybe working class people that don't like Hillary or they don't like Joe Biden. And that's okay. That's what we want. We want the GOP to expand. But don't tell me that there's anything conservative about these monkeys in Paris wearing yellow jackets. You know, I mean, the leaders are all far left-wing community organizers. Yeah, like Choco. So, I don't know why you would support yellow jackets and then be against Antifa and Black Lives Matter. These people are the same.